My name is Kevin Greason. I serve with Global Gates. This workshop is entitled Movements Launching Movements, and we will focus on the strategy of mobilizing hot coals. A hot coal is an effective evangelist from an existing movement that travels away from that movement to a new mission field with the purpose of starting a new movement. What if the 1,000 plus existing movements that are happening around the world today made a plan to reproduce themselves by establishing a new movement in a part of the world where movements do not exist? That's the heart of this session here. A hot coal catalyst is a person who finds a hot coal within an existing healthy movement and mobilizes him or her to a new mission field for the purpose of igniting a new movement. Now, this is a new role in missions. We have evangelists, we have church planters, we have trainers, but the greatest need for today, for finishing the task, I believe, is the role of hot coal catalyst. In this presentation, we will examine the biblical model for mobilizing hot coals. Then we'll look at the challenges for this particular strategy, and we'll look at solutions as well. And finally, we'll look at just the simple step-by-step process for how hot coal catalysts, how you can find them, train them, and send out hot coals through the hot coal catalyst to new movements being launched. The power of a hot coal. In 2007, I was involved in a church planting movement in a South Asia country. I had seen one very effective evangelist. I saw him win over 300 Muslims to faith in Christ in 1 year. I made arrangements to bring that evangelist from that South Asian country to my country in America, to my city. Within 2 weeks, this evangelist, this hot coal, led the owner of a mosque to faith in Christ. And later, that mosque closed. He also managed to share the gospel in 12 mosques throughout the city. This is an evangelist. This is a hot coal. And this is what we're wanting to do, is to find these hot coals inside existing movements around the world and mobilize them to new mission fields, to the gaps. Well, let's look at the biblical model. When Jesus started working in Galilee, and when you read through the scriptures that demonstrate and show Jesus working in Galilee, you might get the impression that Jesus' ministry in Galilee was a failed ministry. He just had a few believers at the end of his 3-year time. But I don't believe so. I believe there was a large movement that started in Galilee from the ministry of Jesus, even before Pentecost. We read in John chapter 4, verse 1, that Jesus' disciples were baptizing more than John the Baptist's disciples. How many people did John the Baptist baptize? Lots. People were coming from everywhere in Israel to be baptized by John the Baptist. Even Pharisees were coming to be baptized by John. But Jesus' ministry was baptizing more than John the Baptist's disciples, all before Pentecost. This was a very large movement that Jesus started in Galilee. Watch what Jesus does. from Galilee, from that movement, he takes 120 hot coals and takes them with him on his journey down to Jerusalem. When they got to Jerusalem, they knew how to preach, how to heal, how to start new churches, and how to baptize. Jesus knew exactly what he was doing when he brought them down. He was only gone for about 10 days, and these 120 hot coals launched a movement, more than 3,000 baptisms on the day of Pentecost. The movement in Jerusalem was started, and it came about from the hot coals from Galilee, from the movement there. Even in Paul's ministry, we see him taking people with him from one place and dropping them in a new place. My friend Steve Smith, he wrote a book entitled T for T. I remember when Steve first went to the mission field, and he began working with a people in a valley. These people were very tough. It was a hard mission field. Steve worked year after year trying to start a movement among the people there. Finally, out of frustration, he decided to do a new strategy. He went to another valley nearby. There, a movement was taking place. Steve got 35 hot coals from that valley, from that movement, and brought them to this valley where he was working. It wasn't long before a movement began in that valley. Those 35 went back to their original destination. Let's now talk about some of the challenges and also some of the solutions with this strategy, the hot coal catalyst, finding hot coals and picking them up and bringing them to fill gaps where we need movements. Well, first of all, the challenge comes finding the movements. It's not as easy as typing into Google, church planting movements, disciple making movements near me. You'll not find movements that way. Most movements are underground for obvious reasons. The goal is, that's the challenge. The goal is to find the gatekeeper, find the leader of that movement. Now, this is going to take time. This is going to take patience and perseverance, but I believe if you'll keep working, you'll find the nearest movement that needs to be mobilized into the gap that you have identified. Each movement seems to have a gatekeeper, not the leader of the movement, someone like you and me who are not a part of that people group. We're outside. Possibly a solution for you is to find that gatekeeper and ask him and earn his trust. Now, he's in charge of praying, mobilizing prayer for that movement. He's involved in training with that movement. He's also bringing resources to that movement. Ask him to take you to those movements. Now, I skipped over the second point is most movements are known by some mission organization. Go and find those mission organizations. Tell them your vision of what you're trying to do. Find a hot coal from a movement, and maybe they will tell you how to get in contact with those movement leaders. Next, a challenge is the movement leader himself is oftentimes very protective of his movement. And outsiders like you and me sometimes pose a threat. He probably thinks that we're bringing in some kind of new teaching, a new doctrine, or a new way of working. And he has worked for years and years developing his leaders. And the doctrine of that movement. So he sees this as a threat. The way over this challenge, this problem, is to take the time and earn the trust of the movement leader. Let him know that you're not wanting to take hot coals permanently to a new place. You're wanting to borrow them for a season, just enough to get a movement started, and then they will be back. Another idea for this challenge of earning the trust of the movement leader: join that movement. Spend time with them. Come inside. Spend 1 year, spend 2 years inside that movement. That way you'll get to find who are the best hot coals in there. That way you'll have time to train these hot coals and get them ready for this shift to a new mission field. Remember that all movements that are started in the gaps, those do not belong to the movement catalyst, to the hot coal catalyst. Those belong to the original movement where the hot coals came from. Another challenge for this strategy of moving hot coals from one place to another is that oftentimes these movements, the hot coals, are not skilled in cross-cultural missions. They do well only with their own people group in diaspora positions out there. And so you may have to take, if you're using a people group from another country and another culture, maybe a different caste, you may have to spend time training them with cross-cultural training. Another solution for you is to just go after diaspora peoples from that people group working as migrant workers in another country. I remember that we were trying to get a work going with Pakistani workers, migrant workers in one country. And so we spent time not in that country where the diaspora workers were. We spent time in Pakistan inside the movement trying to get workers ready, some hot coals ready to go down there. Next, the hot coal strategy is oftentimes one of the most expensive strategies that missionaries are involved in. Two possible solutions for this. First, think about spending time creating a self-support and finding those opportunities where the hot coals can find some support for themselves. Maybe they're going to work in that new location. You have to set that up. You have to be involved in that. Creativity, you're going to need a lot of it. You might have to help with visas from getting from that country into the new country. Another possible solution about when this hot coal strategy is so expensive is look for existing opportunities. I remember years ago in the South Asian country where I worked and a movement had started, I wanted to get hot coals from that movement down into Malaysia, where there were lots of migrant workers from that movement. It was going to cost a lot of money to get those hot coals, plane tickets, support for all the months that they would be down there, and then visas and hotels and all that went into that. It was going to be very, very expensive. Then the movement leader told me one day, he said, I already have people from my movement that have gone down to Malaysia as migrant workers. They were in the movement, and then over the years, they found jobs down there. That solved the problem. I took the movement leader. We went down to Malaysia. We found 5 of those From the movement, we found 5 of those members. We turned them into hot coals through training, through challenging them, and we didn't have to pay for it. Someone else had already paid for them to be down there and working, paid for their work. Look for existing opportunities. Finally, I would like to give you a step-by-step approach for mobilizing hot coals. This is a step-by-step for the hot coal catalyst. Step number 1, prayerfully choose a people group needing a movement. Spend time in prayer, finding the gaps. You may also want to look inside large cities around in your country and look for gaps in there. So many times we have found that most movements around the world are not in the city, they're in the rural areas. And so your job as a hot coal catalyst is to go outside the city into the rural areas where those movements are taking place and mobilize them into the cities. It's probably one of the best strategies that the best hope for our cities, our mega cities around the world, is mobilizing rural movements into the mega cities. Next step, after praying, locate the nearest healthy movement. And I just want to emphasize healthy. We don't want to find unhealthy movements and spread them. Take the time to find healthy movements and mobilize them. Number 3, identify the movement leader and earn trust. As I told you before, you cannot skip this step here. It's vital that you earn the trust of the movement leader. Number 4, find hot coals, those within the movements. Find the most highly effective evangelists inside the movements. And if necessary, train them. Number 5, take the movement leader from the movement location to the new field, to the new country. Wherever you're wanting to start a movement, take the movement leader with you. You'll find in doing so that this plan that was your plan gets transferred over to the movement leader. It's his passion now. It's his goal. And you'll find a better chance of success whenever he owns the strategy. Finally, as the hot coal catalyst, you'll be involved in managing the logistics for the hot coals coming out of the movement to the new places. You'll have to work on visas, their support from their movement or wherever their support is coming from. You'll probably have to be the person to arrange that. You'll be the one giving prayer requests from the hot coals back to the original movement. You'll be getting reports from the hot coals and sending them back to the movement leader and into the movement. Make sure the movement understands this is our effort. This is our plan. In 2018, I contacted a movement leader. This movement leader was claiming to have more than 30,000 baptisms over a period of 18 years. I requested to the movement leader that we work together on starting a movement within his country, but on the other side of the country, far away from where the movement was, among a near cultural people group whose language was very similar. The near cultural people group had no movement and had no churches. Attempting to replicate Jesus's sending of the 72 disciples in Luke 10 we assembled 72 disciples from the movement. And we sent them out in this new location among the target people group. We sent them out in teams of 2 for 3 days. The results were amazing. 681 people heard the gospel in that new people group. 399 responded that they now believe Jesus is the only way to heaven. From the 399, an indigenous leader emerged. He is now the leader of this emerging movement that has over 400 baptisms. This is an example of mobilizing movements, finding hot coals, and mobilizing them to jumpstart a new movement, one that's in the gap. In conclusion, the global South has awakened. There are over 1,000 movements waiting for you to help them reproduce in the remaining gaps around the world. The hot coal catalyst represents a new role in missions. To raise up a new generation of hot coal catalyst missionaries, training must be developed for the hot coal catalyst. Mission organizations that have training, you must be involved and provide this training for our hot coal catalyst. I challenge you, mission organizations, to do like Jesus. Within a period of 2, maybe 3 years, make it your goal to send out from a movement 120 hot coals into a new mission field. This is the challenge. I want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of the Global Assembly of Pastors for finishing the task. And may the Lord bless our efforts to finish the task.